already tried.
Waited this long.
Yeah. My best to kids.
Put them on the visitor list.
He said they got a couple minutes to go under.
Here's mine. Here it
Good. My best to my favorite lady. You know what I'm speaking of. She could be so happy. Tell her I wanted to call her, but I don't call anybody from here. You know, other than my family.
I think I've relayed that to her before.
No, this is an elderly former writer for AP. You know, his predecessor.
Prison on the 1st of October of this year. He would have to put in an application to be moved. He wants to live in Florida, and they were explaining that he'd have to sign declarations waiving any rights to resist extradition back to Nevada if he breached his parole, and Florida may impose its own conditions on him. But there will be stringent conditions until September 29th, 2022, as they kept emphasizing, which is his parole expiry date. So he would serve effectively another 5 years. 5.5.
So he'd have what, supervision, check-ins with the police and things like that.
He'd have to report to the parole officers. He'd have to he won't be able to leave Florida without getting permission of both states, both Florida and Nevada. His movements will be circumscribed. So he's not. And
stay off the drink, we heard as well.
Oh yeah,
he had a problem with alcohol. Just tell us how it's going to work. We saw 4 members of the parole board. They're in another room. This is video link. They've gone out. We know they're coming back in shortly. Do they all have to agree, or can it be a majority decision? Yes, they all have to agree today because the parole board of Nevada consists of 7 people. 1 post is currently vacant. So effectively it's 6. There has to be a majority of 4. These 4. If they're in a complete agreement, the decision will be handed out straight away. If they're not, they will go to the 2 other commissioners who have watched the proceedings via video link in Las Vegas. They're 130 miles away in Las Vegas. So that's what's going to happen. I suspect the way it's all been set up, they announced in advance they'd probably take days in advance, they'd probably take about 30 minutes in deliberations, and that's exactly what they said here. So I suspect the sheer weight of expectation is going to win over, despite OJ's poor performance in his parole hearing itself. Well, as we can see, very relaxed O.J. Simpson there, it must be said, in the Lovelock Correctional Centre. Let's go to Carson City Live. Our US correspondent, Greg Milam, is there. And what's been the discussion then, Greg, during this break while the parole board has been considering?
Yeah, well, I think similarly to what you've been talking about there, that it wasn't perhaps what we expected to see, that there was an expectation that it would be something of a formality, that O.J. Simpson would get to make his no doubt prepared statement offering that apology. But the fact that it became another examination of what happened on that day at a casino in Las Vegas, the fact that he continued to explain away his behaviour while saying he accepted full responsibility, I think has come as something of a surprise, and the panel allowed that to continue for quite some length, for him to continue that discussion. And whether he has done enough to show that remorse that, of course, he has to show for the offences to warrant release. Of course, they will have had a lot of the information they needed even before they sat down today, whether he's satisfied all of the legal requirements to meet conditions for parole, that risk assessment that they will have had to fill out. That
jump in on you here, Greg, because the parole board are coming back in and we want to listen to what they say.
Okay, I call this parole hearing on Orenthal James Simpson back into order. Are we ready to vote, folks?
Chairman Bisbee, I'll start off. Mr. Simpson, you organized this crime in which 2 victims were robbed at gunpoint. It was a serious crime, and there was no excuse for it. You deserve to be sent to prison. You've been in prison now almost 9 years, the minimum amount imposed by the court. You have complied with the rules of the prison. You have programmed in an acceptable manner. You have no prior conviction of criminal activity. You are low risk to reoffend on our guidelines. You have community support and stable release plans. We've heard from you and from your victim. The question here, as with all parole hearings, is whether or not you have served enough time in prison on this case. Considering all of these factors, my vote is to grant your parole effective when eligible.
Thank you.
And I concur with Commissioner Korda and grant parole. And in addition, our decision, although difficult, is fair and just.
I concur with Commissioner Korda and agree to grant parole.
Mr. Simpson, before I cast my vote, I want to let you know that we believe that we're a fair board. We believe that we're a consistent board. I will let you know that that consistency also goes to parole. And we do not look kindly upon parole violations. And if I cast my vote to grant and it concludes the hearing, our expectation would be that you not violate even the simplest condition of parole. Having said that, I am prepared to cast a vote. I am prepared to ask the commissioners to set conditions. If that happens, we will produce an order sometime in the next 15 to 20 minutes that will be faxed to you or presented to you at the institution, and it will become a public record. So based on all of that, Mr. Simpson, I do vote to grant parole when eligible, and that will conclude this hearing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And there we are, the breaking news that O.J. Simpson will be released from prison in October. He has been granted parole, early release of a kind, still subject to many terms and conditions, as the head of the Nevada Parole Board there announced a unanimous decision in the room. 4 members of the board all decided that O.J. Simpson had served enough time in prison after an armed robbery and kidnapping took place in Las Vegas in 2007. He will be granted early release. He will be paroled. That will happen on October the 1st. He goes back to jail right now. We'll spend the summer and the early autumn there, but he will be released on October the 1st. Michael McParlin, QC, is with me, and I must say, that's what you expected. You called it that way.
Yeah, but Commissioner Tony Korda, the first commissioner who spoke, in his face there was a certain reluctance about it. Now, this commission, they talked about their consistency. They have about an 82% rate for granting parole for people who have served their minimum sentence. So, you know, he was...
The odds were in his favour.
The odds were in his favour. He didn't do himself any favours today, but he has succeeded. He succeeded in getting his application through. Now, they're going to post an order with a series of conditions that he'll have to fulfil, and they're going to release that to the public. They hope to do that in about 15 minutes, and that will give an indication of what type of controls there will be on him. And
there will be plenty, we suspect.
Yeah.
Let's just check in with Greg Milam there. He's in Nevada, in Carson City there. Greg, the reaction?
Well, no one, I think, can not think back to that last time that there was a live televised legal proceeding with O.J. Simpson's liberty on the line. Of course, everyone remembers what happened in 1995. There is huge interest in this hearing today, and the fact that O.J. Simpson, not before October the 1st, but at some time after October the 1st, will walk free and will begin his life again. Intense interest, these proceedings broadcast even on sports networks, because O.J. Simpson, because of some TV programs recently, back in the public consciousness, and everything that had gone on in his sports career, his acting career, and of course that murder trial in 1995 very much back in people's minds, and a focus on the justice system, those issues back then of race and domestic violence and celebrity, all very much in people's thoughts once again. But this was about the legality, whether he'd done his time, and those parole commissioners in the building behind me decided that he had, but there will be conditions and a very strong warning about any breach that will land him back in prison.
Greg, many thanks. Greg Milam there, live in Carson City in Nevada with that breaking news that O.J. Simpson walks again. He has been granted parole in Nevada. He will be released from prison after 9 years of his sentence on the 1st of October. Coming up next, it's The Pledge.